For more on whether Snowden should be tried under the Espionage Act or whether laws fundamentally violate the Fourth Amendment when used to spy on all Americans without a warrant, we're joined by our first guest, Colonel Cedric Leighton. He spent 26 years as an intelligence officer in the Air Force, deputy training director at the National Security Agency. And Thomas Drake, former NSA employee and whistleblower who faced charges of violating the Espionage Act, a case that eventually fell apart. Gentlemen, thank you both for being here. And I'm going to start, if I may, Colonel, with you. This appears to be a leaker. He's being variously described as a whistleblower or as something very pejorative. But what we do know right now is that he is a leaker. Your reaction to these developments since Wednesday last?
Well, there's obviously a lot that's gone on, Lou, and of course the unique aspect of this is that he's revealed his own identity, and that makes it even more interesting from a legal standpoint as well as from an intelligence collection standpoint and then an intelligence cleanup standpoint. So what the intelligence community has to do now is figure out exactly what Mr. Snowden has done and how much damage he's actually caused to NSA and any of the other agencies that may potentially be involved.
Can you assess your best assessment of how much damage, little, greatly damaging to NSA and to its mission?
It's potentially considerable, and the reason I say that, Lou, is because this is one of the hearts of NSA's mission, because we're focused so much now in the cyber age on everything that goes on the internet. And the basic thing that has happened is since the end of the Cold War, NSA has realized that radio communications are no longer the big thing, but cyber is, and that's why it becomes a huge deal for NSA and its collection apparatus.
Tom, let me turn to you. This case, does it strike you? Does it resonate with you? Do you sense similar motivations, similar circumstances to your own case?
Yes.
And what are those?
Almost 12 years ago, I was eyewitness and discovered evidence that the United States government at the highest levels was subverting its own constitution willfully and deliberately, in direct violation of the Fourth Amendment and the FISA Act. And so I knew that I could not stand by and watch the subversion of my own Constitution, and so I decided to take action from within the system over a number of years. So yes, it just simply, it's 12 years later of what was already started in the post 9/11 security space.
You heard the head of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Senator Dianne Feinstein, say it's perfectly legal, that it's been approved by, that is Operation PRISM. It has been approved by the Justice Department. It has been, in fact, acceded to by all of the relevant committees, of course. What do you think?
Well, the question is, do we trust what the government says? We certainly couldn't trust them after 9/11 because they were in direct violation of the Fourth Amendment, which had actually criminal sanctions. So here it is, almost 12 years later. Do we still trust them? And do we really want the government having this much knowledge and information, or the temptation, even under what they have asserted are legal protections, the temptation to simply go trolling and diving for other information?
Well, as you say, simply trolling and diving, already we have heard that, and I want you to respond to this, if you will, Colonel, that they have blunted and stopped altogether terrorist attacks that otherwise would have taken place. Where do you look for the balance there? And let me, before I turn to the Colonel, let me ask you to complete your thought on that issue. Tom?
Well, remember, a number of enabling acts were passed, starting with the Patriot Act, which essentially made legal what had been patently illegal under the Constitution and the Fourth Amendment. And so I understand what the government is saying in terms of the need to protect the country. The question is, how far do you trade off liberty for security? Right. And that's the fundamental question.
Colonel, you get the last word on that fundamental question, as Tom put it.
Right, and the basic thing, Lou, is that we have to make that balance, and we have to make that balance in the modern age. I have never seen any willful violation of FISA or of the Constitution or of any of the laws that we were sworn to uphold during my 26 years in the Air Force, let alone my time with NSA. Now, are there exceptions to that? There might possibly be, but not in my personal experience. And I've dealt with all of the people that have been in senior positions in those agencies, and I can tell you that you know, the one thing that they do care about is the safety and security of Americans, and they care about their liberty in order to make that security a tenable goal. And that's really the difference, I think, in the debate and in the way that we look at these things.
And I do want to point out that Thomas Drake, in becoming a whistleblower over a program, it was an internet surveillance program and exploitation program called Trailblazer. Some years later, after charges were filed against him, in point of fact, the Department of Defense Inspector General, pointed out that he was exactly right on the issues, he and others as well in that case. So there are, as you pointed out, Colonel, exceptions, and Thomas Drake appears to be among those.
Absolutely.
Colonel Leighton, thank you very much. Thomas Drake, we thank you.
Pleasure.
I hope you'll come back as we try to explore and understand better what is happening with these stories of surveillance and perhaps abuse of power by the government.